Kennedy Earle Clarke is the personification of perseverance, strength, and courage. Despite his daily challenges, he is committed to maintaining a positive attitude. Earle is a valued community member known for his work as a historian and a social activist. His present-day character was greatly influenced by his upbringing in the late 1930s.
Tell me what it is like today. So you've lived a long time, you've lived and are living a full life. What it is like just one day in your life.
You know, when it changed in 1966. When the Free Secondary Education Act was introduced into the island.
When grammar school became accessible.
Yes.
I heard about
when the children, I couldn't go to grammar school. I was not dunce, but I couldn't go to grammar school because my mother used to be working for shilling and pence. And grammar school was $14.40 per term.
You remember the tuition? $14.40.
40 cents every 3 months.
What did your mommy do for work?
My mother used to sell, walk with a basket on her head and sell cloth and clothes for Miss Kawaja.
And so she wasn't making enough money for you to have access to secondary education?
I could not think of ever raising my hopes to go to grammar school. The grammar school was for people whose father worked in offices and who came from hoity-toity family.
So I am a teacher today. It means that I could not have been a teacher back then?
No.
Not me?
No. When I was going to school, and the manager of Ponds Estate, I attended Newtown School. The manager of Ponds Estate used to leave Ponds Estate and come down to the school to pick out the little children he wanted to work with the number 2 reading the cane fields because they were in charge.
So they would take children out of school to go and work the fields?
Yeah, because they were in charge. They were monarch of all this already. Their right, there was none to dispute.
So St. Kitts was a very different place than it is today?
It was a horrible place. Holidays, I couldn't go out and play bat and ball or cricket.
What did you do?
I had to stay in the house and learn to patch my tear pants.
So you learned to sew?
Yeah.
Okay. So you had the patch-up pants, but then you learned the skill of sewing?
Yes.
And that's a good thing?
That's a good thing, yes.
I have a sewing machine, and I could sew a little bit.
Well, you see, you're better than me. It was needle and thread.
Yes, I have a
and the timber.
The timber? Yes.
Yes.
I always lost my timber. It's good for the big needles.
Yes.
Especially when you quilt into
yes. And let me tell you something. You see where the sands is? Down there was owned by a woman and a man named Mr. and Mrs. Wrigley, who owned Frigate Bay Estate.
Okay.
Anytime Newtown fishermen pulled up the net in front, on the seaside, you know, mind you, that's the sands, they have a road, and that's the sea over here. And anytime Newtown fishermen pulled the seines up in front of the sands, they could not pick out a fish for the family. They had to wait until Miss Wrigley came and picked out what she wanted, and then they could share the fish among themselves and sell.
Wow.
You could not go to Frigate Bay unless you paid 25 cents. And in my day, 25 cents would have given you a breakfast for about 4 people. Things were so cheap. But we used to go over the hills and hide in the bushes and go down and pick and come back without the watchman seeing us.
There was a watchman?
Yes, to ensure, yeah. And there was a bar, a road and a bar to make sure that nobody who is not needed over there. The only time you can go over there free is if you're going to pick salt. When you're cooking, you take up the grain of salt and you look at the water in the pot and you throw it in to see. You have to be a good judge.
You was a good cook?
Of course.
Mrs. Clarke can believe that you was a good cook. She can tell me you was a good
Every
cook.
Sunday I cook.
Okay, she just gave me the nod. She said you was a good cook.
Because you see, I was the first of 11 children, so I had to learn to do everything.
You like being the boss?
In those days, it gave you a kind of prestige, you know?
To be the oldest one?
To be the oldest one, you
I
know?
want to hear about your day now. Tell me what your day is like now.
Well, my day now, I do a lot of writing.
You do a lot of writing?
Yeah, I write on the computer. I used to write for the Spokesman.
Used to write, and that's a local newspaper, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you wake up about what time to start?
Sometimes 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow, you're an early riser.
I used to write and give people my articles to type. And when I read those articles, I want to know who butchered this?
It's never as good as when you
No. So I decided that I'm going to strum today, strum tomorrow, strum today, until I get it done.
Okay.
And people started appreciating my writings down then.
You spoke about your amputation, and I was very cautious of how to bring it up. How has being an amputee affected how you move about? Like, I could imagine if I had one leg chopped off, because I'm very active, I would sit down and feel sorry for myself. Like, how,
No.
how do you do it?
But before my amputation, I used to train teams. I trained the netball team in 1973 to Caribbean Championship. I was president of a cricket club named Renown. I trained that, and for 5 years, it was the champion club in St. Kitts. So when I had my amputation, I told myself that I still have to be inspiration to others.
Oh.
I couldn't feel sorry for myself.
So even after the leg was taken, you still had that gumption within yourself that you have to be there for the community?
Of course, I still used to visit the hospital.
You still used to visit the hospital?
Yeah.
That is
And
amazing.
I remember one time I went to visit this. I didn't know the gentleman, but I went visiting, and the man opened me here. He said, "You got 1 foot?" I said, "Yeah." "And you come visit me?" I said, "Yeah. I'll come cheer you up."
Oh.
He said he had a cut on the foot. He said, "I have a cut on my foot, and I hear feeling sorry for myself. And you come cheer me up with your 1 foot?" In 2 days' time, he was out of the hospital, and he left a message with the nurses, telling the nurses to tell me, "Keep it up."
So, Mr. Clarke,
Yes,
where
my
did
dear.
you grow up on Newtown?
Corn Street.
So what was it like growing up on Corn Street as a small boy?
It was poverty.
It was poverty?
Poverty.
Wow.
Flat foot, and bread without relish. When you're having breakfast now, you're having relish with your bread.
Ham and cheese and
Yeah. I had to soak my bread in my tea, in my bush tea.
And then eat it?
Yeah.
I'm sure some people still do that. Soak the bread in the tea and put it in your mouth hot.
Well,
So you have soggy bread?
Yeah. And sometimes when there's the rainy season, we steal away from our parents and come up the ponds pasture.
Yes.
And we used to have a lot of pond birds.
Okay. There was actually a pond in Newtown?
Well, Pond's pasture is on the water
Oh.
below sea level.
Okay,
So-
that's where the name comes from?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
No, Ponds was named after an estate to the north of it, Ponds Estate.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So there was an estate
Yeah.
in Newtown called Ponds.
Ponds Estate, yes.
Ponds Estate, and that's where the
That
area.
was the Ponds pasture, yeah.
Okay.
Half of Ponds pasture belonged to the government and half belonged to the Ponds Estate. Ponds Estate part of the pasture was where they grazed the cattle with dew. The sugarcane carts from the cane fields to the sidings.
As an avid writer, Mr. Clarke is well known for his pieces on social commentary. He uses his pen, quick wit, and unique sense of humor to leave his readers with memorable nuggets of wisdom. We took a trip to the place where the works of the world's greatest authors convene, the library. Here, he shared with me an overview of his career.
So what did you do for work? When you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, my first job was as a store boy.
Oh, you were a store boy.
Store boy, just leave school with a 7th standard certificate. Store boy for A.M. Losado, which was situated in Bank Street.
Okay.
$3 per week.
$3?
$3 per week.
Was that a good wage then?
In those days, you take
what you could get.
One day when I was working, Thursday, what used to be half day, and one day, Mrs. Losado told me, little boy, in those days you didn't have any name. I want you to come back down this afternoon. I said, but ma'am, today's half day. She said, you hear what I said, little boy? You want the job? So I said, okay. I went down and I followed her into her drawing room. And she said, little boy, you see that spot on the floor? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, get down on your knees and scrub it. I said, not me, ma'am. I said, I would scrub my grandmother's floor, no white person floor. And she said, you're fired.
So you stood up for your rights, even as a store boy. So what did you do after being a store boy?
After that, I went to work for S.L. Horsford and Company as a clerk.
When did you become a police?
I became a police in 1956. Being a police, people get to know you, right? And especially if you believe in yourself.
So you are confident, young, handsome police?
Yes, right.
Because I saw the pictures in your house, you know. A confident, young, handsome
yes,
police.
Right.
Okay, so how did you leave St. Kitts and end up in Nevis as a police?
But, because I was the first intelligence officer.
You were the first intelligence officer, yeah.
And the first immigration officer to improve the image of the immigration office.
You went to Nevis, and that is where you met a special somebody. Who did you meet in Nevis?
Dorothy Clarke, a teacher. And she became my wife.
And you married her?
Yes, and both, 4 beautiful daughters.
4 beautiful daughters, and she's still loving you and faithful.
Well, she has to. I'm a Sagittarian.
Oh gosh. And your wife is this, not just a teacher, but she was like a lifelong educator.
Yes.
And we have one of our primary schools that's named after.
Yes, Newtown Primary School.
Yeah, so the Tucker Clarke.
Tucker Clarke. Tucker was a headmistress before. And then she came after Mrs. Tucker.
Wow.
And she built up the reputation of the school.
Okay.
And so they decided to name Tucker Clarke because Tucker was a pioneer.
So your wife is one of these incredible women of the Federation who dedicated over 40 years, 4 decades into teaching and developing the nation's children. So you were a police officer, and then you went into giving tours, being a taxi driver.
Being a taxi driver, the taxi drivers knew nothing about the history of the island. When I went into the taxi trade, I said, what you all do, what you all tell people? Somehow you just drive the people them. So I said, no, you are an ambassador And the first $200 I made in taxing, I took it and I wrote a booklet on the history of St. Kitts and gave each taxi driver a copy free of charge. And I was the first taxi driver, maybe in the Caribbean, to bring a tourist boat to St. Kitts.
So I remember you are a writer, you love writing. Tell me one of the stories of St. Kitts, or just a story that might be interesting that you wrote about. Tell me what you write about.
I wrote about the 10th of June, historical. I'm always historical, and I always talk truth. People must respect you for what you say and what you do, once you're doing it truthfully.
Okay. So you wrote about the 10th of
June. I wrote about conditions in the old days, about soaking my bread in my tea, going to school barefoot. I wrote about the Buckley's Uprising, the 1935 Buckley's Uprising. I wrote about conditions, living conditions in my day.
And so you told this story so people from my generation can appreciate, as you've been telling me, the St. Kitts that I was born into. The St. Kitts that I was born into is a very different St. Kitts than you were born into.
And that is why I tell my story of my day, so that people could appreciate what they now have.
Invented in the late 1300s, playing cards have withstood the test of time. With each generation, new games are introduced, some of which are unfamiliar to our elders. To bring out the youthful spirit of this social giant, I introduced him to one of my favorite card games. So we're going to share out the cards?
Yeah, I declare war.
So this is one of my favorite games. It's called I Declare War. And you have a whole deck of cards. We shuffled it first like what you saw I did. And then we share each person from the whole deck. So each of us is supposed to have half of the deck. And what you're going to do is put down a card. And who puts down the highest number win. Okay, so you have 10. I have 5. Okay, so you win. Jack. 3, oh my God, you are winning. I thought you said you didn't know how to, 6, I win 1. I think you're tricking me.
No. I'm just lucky.
You're lucky? Oh, you're good lucky. My turn, yeah. King, beat that. Oh, I declare war, let's go. I declare war, we have to go. Listen to me, look. I declare war. So you put down 3. I declare.
Wow.
I'm not sure you're this lucky or you just knew how to play the game all along and you wasn't telling me, because you're winning a lot. You just like win the war and you have the most cards. Okay, so let's go now. So we are at the Newtown playing field. And I know you had a part to play in football in the community.
Football, yes, right.
And starting football and the football club. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, in 1973, after training, the St. Kitts netball, or the national netball team, to victory, to West Indies victory.
Oh, wow.
I was called upon to form the Newtown football team. Newtown had a lot of players, but we didn't have no club.
Okay.
And most of the fellas who had joined other clubs. And we decided that with all that talent that Newtown have, let us use it for Newtown. And at that time, nobody had any respect for Newtowners. You know, we would have people, if a man, a Newtowner, asks a woman from up the village to be his girlfriend, you smell of fish.
Oh, because Newtown was fisher people?
Yes.
Fisher folk?
Yes. You know, and it was only after the victories of the Newtown football team that Newtown men did not have to go and look for women.
Women
Women
came.
were coming to the victim.
Okay, so it changed the status.
Changed the status
of
Newtowners.
Ooh, so the footballers bring some pride to the community.
Right.
And you were very instrumental in...
Yes.
We were having a conversation previously where you told me the name Newtown. What does it mean?
Oh, it's a new town because Irish town, which was made up of Irish indentured workers, was overcrowded. In those days, people didn't have toilet facilities. People went down on the Irish town bed and they excreted. They had no public baths. People used to bathe their skins in the back of their yard, out of a bucket or a drum. Yeah, and so Newtown, the new town was created to ease the slums of Irish town.
The name Newtown is very literal. It just meant a new town. So let's go one more round. I win.
See you, see?
I declare war. Okay, let's go. I declare war.
Clear war.
You win all of the I declare wars.
Family is an important aspect of Earle's life. Being a husband to his loving wife, Dorothy Clarke, and the father has shaped him into a formidable character. This foundation has given him the motivation to achieve his life's mission of being of service to others.
So you are a family man and you are married to the indomitable Mrs. Clarke. How long have you guys been married?
For 55 years.
55 years you've been a married man. What made you marry her?
She was exceptional, right? You meet women, but then you meet women.
Oh, so she was a woman.
Yeah.
She wasn't ordinary, she was a woman.
Right. And although I had no faults with her, because I was not loved as a child growing up, I had outside relationships.
Really?
Yeah.
You did have outside relationships?
About 4 children outside.
Wow, so you have 4 children outside and 4 children inside.
Inside, yeah.
Okay, so the Clarke family is well established.
Well established.
What is the thing that you think all of your life has taught you? What is the biggest lesson you've learned in your life?
The biggest thing in my life is my helping people. At Christmas time, I would invite the senior citizens to my house for Christmas dinner. And I always regret that I didn't have the means of helping more people.
Because you also said that you didn't have an easy life growing up. So you learned what it is to not have an easy life, and then you learned what it is to help people. How old are you, by the way? We didn't say how old.
No.
We're not going to say that?
How young I am.
Oh, how young you are. Forgive me.
I am 85 years young.
Wow. You are 85 years young.
Young.
Wow, that is amazing. I'm not even half of 85. What would you do differently?
Extend a helping hand
You would help
to
more?
more people.
You have learned that helping is one of the most important things we can do.
Because
And you would help more?
when you help, the blessings fall on you, fall on your children. You stay looking young.
You still looking young like you, 85 years young?
Young. You see, when you realize where you come from, and when you realize the amount of help you could have offered, and people are still looking for help. Because, I see myself as somebody who reaches out. When you help people, they talk about it. Other people want to come and receive the same treatment. We are placed on this earth not to accumulate wealth, but to assist. Because, as I said a while ago, only remembered by the good deeds that you have done.